Pray to God with faith and a purpose. But first, become the person worthy of the answer. Before you ask anything of God, stop and ask yourself, have I truly become the kind of person who deserves what I'm asking for? You see, prayer is powerful. Prayer with faith is transformative. But prayer backed by purpose and personal growth, that is divine. Millions pray every day. Few are heard. Not because God isn't listening, but because they pray without transformation. They beg for success, but live in fear. They plead for love, but act with resentment. They cry for abundance, but sow seeds of laziness, doubt, or bitterness. Understand this. God responds not to your words, but to your vibration. He sees not just your desires, but who you've become in the pursuit of those desires. You want success? Then become success. You want love? Radiate love. You want wealth? Think and act like someone worthy of wealth. Pray with faith, but also prepare with discipline. Build your character. Sharpen your habits. Align your actions with your vision. Because the universe, and the Lord Himself, rewards the man who dares to become before he dares to receive. This is not just philosophy. This is the formula of every great man I studied. Every titan of industry, every spiritual giant, every extraordinary life I've ever witnessed, they all understood this truth. You must first become before you can truly receive. Do not knock on heaven's door as a beggar. Knock as a creator, as a man of faith, as a soul aligned with purpose. The day you stop asking when God will give you something, and instead ask how you can become ready to receive it, is the day your life begins to change. Pray, believe, transform. That's how you unlock the kingdom. Inspired by Napoleon Hill. Chapter 1. The silent mistake most people make when they pray. Most people think prayer is a transaction. They believe that if they speak the right words, at the right time, with enough emotion, then God will grant them what they ask for. But here's the truth few are willing to face. God is not moved by desperation. He is moved by alignment. Millions cry out for help every day. They ask for more money, better relationships, healing, opportunity, peace. And yet, their lives remain the same. Why? Because they have not become the kind of person who can hold what they're asking for. It's like giving a loaded rifle to a child, or a fortune to a man with no vision, or a position of leadership to someone who still lives in fear. God doesn't give you what you want. He gives you what you're ready for. This is the silent mistake most people make when they pray. They ask for something great, while staying exactly the same. They want the result of transformation without going through the process of transformation. But you cannot bypass growth and expect elevation. You cannot walk in weakness and demand power. You cannot think like a victim and expect to live like a victor. The greatest power of prayer is not what it brings to your life. The greatest power is what it draws out of you. It forces you to reflect, to confront, to ask, am I becoming the person who deserves what I'm asking for? Most never ask that question. But those who do, the few who turn their prayers into a mirror, begin to understand the divine principle of co-creation. They realize prayer is not just a request. It's a responsibility. Yes, you can pray for wealth. But are you mastering your thoughts, your time, your habits? You can pray for love. But are you healing your wounds, controlling your ego, becoming someone who loves well? You can pray for opportunity. But are you sharpening your skills, preparing your mind, aligning with your purpose? This is the foundation. This is where faith meets action. This is the kind of prayer that heaven listens to, not empty wishes, but bold declarations backed by growth. So ask yourself right now, if God gave me what I'm asking for, could I carry it without breaking? Because until the answer is yes, your prayer is still incomplete. Chapter 2. You must become before you receive. There is a law older than any scripture, more universal than any religion, and more powerful than any spoken prayer. You must first become, before you can ever receive. This is the cornerstone of all success, spiritual or material. And yet, it's the most ignored. We ask God for miracles, but we resist the inner change those miracles require. We want results without responsibility, gifts without growth, harvest without planting. But God is not a magician. He is a creator. And He calls you to create with Him, not through words alone, but through transformation. Think of it like this. You're asking for a mansion, but your foundation can't even hold a cabin. You're praying for a lifelong partner, but your heart still lives in the past. You're begging for abundance, but your habits are draining every opportunity from your life. God doesn't want to see you collapse under the weight of your own request. So He waits. Not to punish you, but to protect you. Not to deny you, but to prepare you. And the preparation is your responsibility. Your thoughts must shift. Your standards must rise. Your discipline must increase. Your vision must stretch. Your faith must deepen. You must become the man or woman who can walk into the room you're praying for, and not just survive there, but thrive there. That is when the doors open. That is when favor follows you. That is when God sees Himself in you, not as a replica, but as a reflection. Because what you're praying for is already on its way. But it's not waiting for a prayer. It's waiting for a person. A person who has become ready. Don't misunderstand this. This is not about perfection. It's about alignment. You don't need to be flawless, but you do need to be faithful. You do need to be honest. You do need to be evolving. Every step you take toward the person you're meant to become draws your blessing closer. So don't just say the words. Live them. Don't just ask. Act. Don't just wish. Work. Because when your growth matches your request, when your character mirrors your vision, God doesn't just answer your prayer. He exceeds it. Chapter 3. Faith alone is not enough. You must add works to your prayer. One of the most dangerous lies in the spiritual world is this. If I just have enough faith, everything will come to me. But let me tell you the truth that every successful man I ever studied understood deep in his bones. Faith alone is not enough. Faith is the spark, but action is the fire. Faith opens the door, but discipline walks you through it. You can believe in abundance. You can believe in your dream. You can believe that God has great plans for your life. But if you don't get up and move your feet, if you don't make the call, write the plan, study the craft, build the discipline, then your belief dies in your imagination. Even Scripture says it clearly. Faith without works is dead. Yet so many people pray without preparing. They hope without hustling. They wait for a sign instead of becoming one. And then they wonder why nothing changes. I've seen men sit in churches begging God to change their financial situation. But they won't pick up a book on wealth. They won't write down their goals. They won't cut the habits that are stealing their prosperity. I've seen women cry for love, but refuse to heal from the pain that still rules their heart. They don't become the kind of partner they themselves would want. Listen closely. God does not reward passive faith. He rewards active alignment. You're not waiting on God. He's waiting on you. Waiting for you to rise. To take responsibility. To meet Him halfway, with action, integrity, and commitment. Prayer is not a magic trick. It's a declaration of partnership with the divine. When you pray, you are saying, God, I trust you, and I will now do my part to deserve what I'm asking for. If you pray for health, but refuse to eat clean, sleep right, or move your body, you're not in alignment. If you pray for success, but show up late, speak doubt, and waste your time, you're not in alignment. If you pray for purpose, but run from every challenge that would shape you, you're not in alignment. And without alignment, your prayer becomes noise. So make your faith real. Put your hands to work. Show the universe that you are serious. Because once heaven sees a man or woman willing to take responsibility for their transformation, the doors begin to swing open, wide. Not because you earned a blessing, but because you became a vessel strong enough to hold it. Chapter 4. Don't just ask God for a blessing. Become a blessing first. Most people ask God, bless me. They pray for favor. They beg for breakthroughs. They hope for miracles. But here's a higher question. Have you become a blessing in someone else's life first? Because true power doesn't come from what you get, it comes from what you give. And if you are not sowing blessings into the world, how can you expect to reap them? Think about the law of cause and effect. Think about the law of compensation. Think about the golden rule itself. The universe, and God, rewards you not for what you want, but for what you contribute. You're asking for wealth. Fine. But are you adding value to the lives of others? You're asking for peace. But are you a source of calm in someone else's storm? You're asking for joy. But are you spreading it, or are you constantly complaining? See, many people live life backwards. They wait to receive before they give. They want confirmation before they move. They want the reward before they run the race. But God's kingdom doesn't work like that. You must become the blessing before the blessing arrives. Every successful man and woman I've studied had this trait. They didn't just pray for help, they became help. They didn't just seek opportunity, they created it. They didn't just wait for success, they served others until success had no choice but to find them. Let's be honest. You cannot attract what you are not willing to embody. If you want to be loved, become love. If you want to lead, serve first. If you want God to lift you, first lift others. This isn't just philosophy, this is spiritual law. This is practical truth. You will never be poor a day in your life if you commit to being a source of value. You will never be empty if you become a vessel of light. You will never be abandoned if you dedicate yourself to lifting others up. Why? Because when you become the blessing, you step into the divine flow of life. And in that flow, there is no scarcity. Only overflow. So today, stop asking what you're missing. Start asking who needs what I already have. Start showing up with purpose. Start living with generosity. Start moving like someone who carries answers. Because when you stop begging for favor and start becoming favor, you won't have to chase blessings anymore. They'll start chasing you. Chapter 5. If you want more from God, give Him more of yourself. Everybody wants more from life. More peace. More money. More time. More opportunity. And so they pray, God, give me more. But few ever stop to ask the more important question, what have I given God? You see, God is not a vending machine. You don't drop in a few words, hit a button, and expect blessings to fall out. No. God is a creator. And He's looking for partners in creation. He's looking for men and women who don't just ask, but who offer themselves fully. And here's the truth. The level of blessing you experience will never exceed the level of yourself you are willing to surrender. You want God to move mountains in your life. But are you willing to move your pride? You want God to open doors. But are you willing to shut the ones that lead to sin, distraction, or fear? You want God to promote you. But are you willing to promote His principles in your daily life? Too many people ask for divine favor while giving God the leftovers of their time, their attention, their energy. They give Him 5 minutes in the morning and expect Him to rearrange their entire destiny. But God doesn't work through scraps. He works through sacrifice. He works through the man who shows up early, stays late, and serves with intention. He works through the woman who forgives when it's hard, loves when it hurts, and still believes when nothing makes sense. You want more? Then give more. Not to impress God, but to align with Him. Because the more you surrender, the more you make room for His power. You surrender your doubt, He fills you with faith. You surrender your control, He gives you peace. You surrender your ego, He lifts you higher than you ever imagined. That's how the formula works. And every truly successful life proves it. I have never met a man of great achievement who didn't first become a man of great obedience. I have never studied a woman of great influence who didn't first live with great intention. The equation is simple. Give God more of you, and He will give you more of what you were born to carry. Your calling is not waiting on a better season. It's waiting on a deeper surrender. So today, don't just pray harder. Commit deeper. Show up stronger. Trust more fully. Because once God sees that your life is truly available, He will make anything possible. Chapter 6. Stop waiting for a sign. You are the sign. Every day, people sit still, waiting, hoping, asking God for a sign. They pray, "Lord, show me what to do." God, give me a sign if I'm meant for more. Send me confirmation. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You don't need another sign. You need to start moving. God has already spoken. He gave you a mind. Use it. He gave you gifts. Multiply them. He gave you time. Stop wasting it. He gave you a calling. Answer it. The fact that you're even thinking about more, dreaming about it, desiring it, is the sign. The desire itself is divine. You don't need a voice from the clouds or writing in the sky. You don't need someone to come shake you into action. The sign you're waiting for is the potential He already placed inside you. You keep asking God to move, but maybe He's waiting on you to move first. Faith is not passive. Faith is momentum. It is the decision to step out, even when the outcome is unclear. And every successful man I've studied, every great story of breakthrough, of fortune, of purpose, started not with a sign, but with a step. They didn't wait for confirmation. They became confirmation. They didn't ask if they were ready. They prepared themselves until they were. Because the man who walks in faith doesn't wait for doors to open. He knocks until one does. He doesn't beg for miracles. He becomes a miracle in motion. So if you're reading this right now, hear me. Stop stalling. Stop doubting. Stop needing permission. You don't need a sign to move forward. You need conviction. Start writing the book. Start the business. Ask for the meeting. Apply for the opportunity. Get healthy. Heal. Let go. Forgive. Do the thing you know God has already whispered to you in the silence. Because when you move, the path begins to clear. When you act, heaven responds. When you lead with faith, the world starts to follow. You're not lost. You're just hesitating. And the man who hesitates misses his moment. So here it is, the last sign you'll ever need. You were made for this. Now act like it. Chapter 7. Your results will match your identity, not your prayers. You can pray for hours. You can fast for days. You can declare, affirm, and shout every dream into the sky. But until your identity matches your request, the results will never last. Let that sink in. Because this is one of the most misunderstood truths in spiritual and personal growth. Your life will never rise above the level of the person you believe you are. If you see yourself as broke, you'll sabotage every opportunity for wealth. If you still think you're unworthy of love, you'll push away even the deepest affection. If you believe you're not smart enough, gifted enough, chosen enough, then no amount of external success will ever stick. Why? Because your self-image is the thermostat of your life, and it always pulls your reality back into alignment with who you think you are, not what you say you want. You don't attract what you pray for. You attract what you are. You say, "God, make me successful." But deep down, you still feel like a failure. You say, "God, send me abundance." But your daily thoughts are rooted in fear, lack, and guilt. And the truth is, God can't give you what your identity keeps rejecting. So what do? You upgrade your inner identity. You change the picture you hold of yourself. You stop living from your past and start living from your purpose. This is what every powerful man I ever studied did. They rewrote their own story. They stopped letting pain define them. They let faith sculpt a new version of themselves, one worthy of their destiny. Because you can't build a palace with the blueprint of a prison. You must see yourself differently. You must look in the mirror and speak truth, not memory. You must declare not what was, but what shall be. You must act, walk, think, and show up as the person who already carries what you desire. This is not about pretending. This is about aligning. Alignment is when your inner world reflects your outer request. When your thoughts support your prayers. When your habits back your vision. When your identity says, I was born for this. Because when that shift happens, when who you are matches what you're asking for, you won't have to chase success anymore. It will recognize you. God has already said yes. Now it's time for you to become the version of yourself that can receive it. Chapter 8. God answers the committed, not the comfortable. Everyone wants a breakthrough. Everyone wants abundance, clarity, freedom, purpose. But here's what separates those who receive from those who only wish. Commitment. Not comfort. Not convenience. Not half-effort prayers. But deep, soul-level commitment. The kind of commitment that keeps going when it's hard. The kind that shows up when motivation is gone. The kind that says, even if it takes me years, I will not stop. And that's who God answers. He answers the man who stays faithful when results are invisible. He answers the woman who keeps believing even while bleeding. He answers those who don't just pray with their mouth, but prove it with their life. You want to know why so many people never see their prayers answered? Because they stop too soon. They say, I tried. They say, it didn't work. But they never fully committed. They tested God, but never trusted Him. And trust isn't proven in comfort. It's proven in fire, in delay, in difficulty, in discipline. God is not testing your strength. He's testing your willingness. Because until you're willing to keep going without applause, without confirmation, without immediate reward, you're not truly ready to carry the blessing. Every successful life is built on this one truth. There is no harvest without unwavering commitment. Commitment when no one believes in you. Commitment when it doesn't make sense. Commitment when it feels like heaven is silent. That's when the shift happens. Because your consistency becomes your covenant. Your devotion becomes your signal. And heaven responds not to emotion, but to endurance. You say you want more? Then stop negotiating with your destiny. Stop quitting when it gets uncomfortable. Stop letting circumstances talk you out of what God already whispered into your soul. The path is not meant to be easy. It's meant to shape you. Because the person you must become to carry the vision is the real reward. So today, draw the line. Commit. Not casually. Not conditionally. But fully. Because when God sees a man or woman who refuses to fold, who burns the plan B, who keeps building, keeps believing, keeps becoming, that's when He releases the blessing. Not to someone who's interested, but to someone who is unshakably committed. Chapter 9. When you align with God, nothing can stop you. This is the final truth. The highest lesson. Everything you've read until now leads to this moment. When you align your thoughts, your actions, your purpose, and your identity with God, nothing on this earth can stop you. Not doubt, not fear, not your past, not other people's opinions, not failure, not delay. Because when a man walks in alignment with divine order, he becomes unstoppable. This is not about arrogance. This is about authority. Spiritual authority. The kind of authority that comes when heaven recognizes your movement. When your steps echo God's intention. When your mission becomes sacred, because it's no longer just about you. You're not praying for wealth for selfish reasons. You're building something that blesses others. You're not seeking success to impress people. You're fulfilling a calling. You're not asking for strength to show off. You're asking for strength to carry out your assignment. And when that kind of alignment happens, doors open, paths clear, resources flow, enemies fall away, opportunities multiply, and the right people show up at the right time. This is what I call divine momentum. It's the moment when you no longer have to force anything, because you become the man or woman who naturally attracts everything you once struggled to find. God doesn't bless chaos. He blesses order. And when your inner world is ordered, your outer world begins to reflect that. So if you've been asking, when will it happen for me? How much longer must I wait? What else do I need to do? Here's the answer. You must align. You must surrender. You must rise. Not partially, not occasionally, but completely. Because when God sees that you're finally ready, not just in prayer, but in character, He moves. Not with small answers, but with overflow. Not with survival, but with legacy. Not with barely enough, but with more than enough. You are not waiting on permission. You are not waiting on luck. You are not waiting on the world to change. You are waiting on your alignment. And the moment you step into it, fully, boldly, faithfully, the moment you become the man or woman you were always destined to be, you won't have to chase success anymore. It will recognize you. It will honor you. It will obey you. Because when you walk with God and work like it depends on you, absolutely nothing can stop you.